Žaismo DNR jums pristato interviu su didžiausios žaidimų fiestos pasaulyje Dreamhack eSporto vadovu Tomas Hermansson. Šis žmogus anksčiau pats buvo profesionalus žaidėjas ir komandos vadybininkas, vėliau dirbęs banke metė savo darbą ir atsidavė eSportui. Kaip jis mato eSporto ateitį pasaulyje ir Lietuvoje, galite sužinoti šiame video reportaže.
So, Thomas, you've been in gaming for a while now, as far as I know. In 2004, you've been a captain of CS team. And how did you appear in Dreamhack?
It's a good question. I mean, I've been at Dreamhack for a while. I actually participated. The first event for my part was '99, and 2000 I was there as well. And then I probably had 4 or 5 years without going to Dreamhack. And after that, I started to work at different gaming companies. I worked for websites, was a news reporter. I, got more and more involved into esports. First as a player, as you said, but after that, more news sites, doing leagues, organize different esport things, activities. And I actually ended up, while doing that, working in a bank, in a traditional bank. And I got very bored of working in a bank. And then one day, a friend of mine working at Dreamhack called me and said, "You should work with us. You should work with the eSport part at Dreamhack." So I definitely said yes directly, and left the bank and started to work full-time with esports and work with Dreamhack. And I'm not sure how I ended up there, but I mean, my main interest is computer games and esports, so it was kind of natural.
So you've been interested in esports while you've been working in bank also, right?
Yes. During that time I had, for example, Sweden's biggest esport website, Rakaka, and I wrote news, 10,000 news during 3 years, and we went to all the events, all the different ESL events, the World Cyber Games and ESWC and all these traditional events. And that's also where I got a lot of inspiration to produce my own events, because if you look at others and see what are they doing good, what are they doing bad, it's kind of easy to have a strong opinion when you start work with an event like Dreamhack.
So your dream was to work in esports, right?
Yes. Definitely. I'm not sure what else I want to work with in life. It's more completely changing direction, be a politician or something like that. Now I don't know, but esport is my call.
And do you know how the idea of Dreamhack was born?
Yes, I mean, it started in '94, as I said in the presentation. We're celebrating 20 years this year, which is kind of amazing. It started as a small LAN party, a small demo party where 40 friends brought their computers to one school cafeteria. They stayed there for 4 days, and they basically shared knowledge, connected their computers into a local network, had competitions and stuff like that. They didn't play so much games, more that maybe they were creating games, because back then there were no Doom, no Quake and stuff like that. So that was the start, and from that it grew every year. So 80 people next year, 120 the year after, and it's basically double the size every year. I think that the main activities at Dreamhack changed a lot when internet came. It became more of a file sharing party, to be honest. And after that, when gaming really boomed, online gaming came on the table. That became the main focus. And today I would say esports is, if Dreamhack was a music festival, let's say if you have a music festival, Metallica would be the main act. It's the same thing at Dreamhack. Esports is the main act of Dreamhack.
So Dreamhack is Woodstock of gaming, right?
Yes, exactly. We've been described the Woodstock of gaming. I think our CEO calls it the Burning Man of gaming sometimes, and I think you can compare it to a lot of different events. But if you go to a festival, one of our festival events, it's have a unique atmosphere of, it's very social, a lot of friends meeting each other. In Sweden, for example, it's a very long country. It's far from the north to the south, so some of the friends there maybe have been playing together for years, but they haven't met each other in real life. So Dreamhack is the perfect place where you go and maybe meet some of your League of Legends friends for the first time.
So, what is the dream of Dreamhack? You already hold the record for the world's biggest LAN party, you've got the fastest internet speed, you've already got 2 world records, so what's the next dream of Dreamhack?
I mean, we have so many long-term dreams that we sometimes funny say that we want to host a LAN party on the moon, but it's kind of more of a joke than actual achievable goal. But right now we're in a phase where we want to expand internationally, focus on Europe right now, but in the future maybe even United States and Asia. We want to become the most important event and entertainment brand within the space of esports and gaming. That's our goal. We also want to create more content and produce more and more professional TV products. I think we're far ahead, or we have reached a lot already. We have a TV studio today, but I just see in the future, maybe within 5-6 years, we have 6 TV studios around the world and we're producing 24/7. I mean, the interesting part with esports and gaming is that it's changing every year, so you have to change your goal every year and change your strategy because it's so many, the landscape is changing.
So you mentioned that gaming is changing every year. Don't you think that when the games, that esport games that is now will die, don't you think the esports will end?
Never. Not even close, because I've been part of this since 2001. I started to play esport games, and of course it's some of the titles that's been around for a while, but I mean League of Legends came from nowhere and now it's the biggest game. I mean, in Sweden we don't play World of Tanks that much, but I know it's big in Eastern Europe, or getting bigger and bigger everywhere, and it's a completely new game. It's a lot of new games coming, and it's some of the old that have a high quality that stays, for example StarCraft. But I mean, of course, I'm not interested actually in specific games. I'm more interested in esports, and I think the important part with esports is that gamers can also, even though they don't play a certain game, they can appreciate the sport side of it. I mean, I can watch League of Legends without playing it and still enjoy the competition.
So what do you think is the 3 things that made esports as big as it's now?
I would say it's a lot of different things, but I would say if we narrow it down to the last 3 years, I would say free accessible live streaming, like services like Twitch and owned and all those old ones that sadly disappeared. But I think the second was that we got some really good games, including League of Legends and StarCraft 2 back 2010, 2011. That was made for esports, but it was also made as a spectator sport from the beginning. So they had spectator mode, and it had they have these games have one thing in common. You have this overview perspective, which is really easy for a viewer to follow. It's like watching a chessboard or watching a landscape. It's very easy to follow. Unlike, I would say, FPS games, especially team games, it's very hard to follow everything going on.
And why do you think these northern countries are very successful in esports, especially Sweden? We see organizations like Ninjas in Pajamas, Alliance, that organizations were born in Sweden, and it's really one of the most successful organizations in esports. Why it is Sweden?
I think 2 reasons are that we were really early with the infrastructure. And it was, for example, Sweden was quite early in the 90s to get broadband everywhere and to everyone in every home. We actually had from the government that everyone should have broadband within X amount of years. That was really important, so everyone got broadband. The second was that we also had a home PC government funded program where everyone got basically cheaper PCs through their companies at home. So we have the infrastructure, and the second part, I would say, is basically that Sweden have a tradition of being an IT country and also very competitive in sports in general. We're kind of bad in football, but we are quite good in the Olympics. We're quite good in a lot of small sports. We have the competition side of it, and also working we're quite good in team sports. So we have we're kind of a sporty country from the beginning. That's a big piece of it. Except that, I would say the infrastructure reasons are the main reason why we're so far ahead.
And if I'm not mistaken, eSports is on national TV of Sweden.
Yes.
And how did the massive media help eSports to develop?
It actually started at Dreamhack 2008, 2009, where the Swedish national television, SVT, started to cover Dreamhack. But it was more like, this is the geek fest, they drink Jolt Cola and they, this is weird. But we convinced them it's more interesting to focus on the eSport part, where you have a winner, you have a champion, you have a loser, you have storylines, you have development. You have so much more storylines around eSports. So we convinced them to do that. And they did that for a couple of events, and then basically all the media outlets in Sweden realized, okay, we have to be on this, jump on this train, otherwise we're going to miss basically a complete new generation of young guys and girls that are not following our medias, but they are online, playing games, watching at Twitch, doing other stuff. We want to be involved there. So right now, of the 5 biggest media corporations in Sweden, 4 of them is either producing or broadcasting esports. Important thing to say here, just to get it straight for people outside Sweden, is that primarily they are broadcasting online on their play services or their online web player basically. But sometimes at specific events they broadcast on terrestrial, real or digital TV. So it's not like weekly shows in Sweden like maybe you have in football or anything else. We're getting there maybe in a few years, but the important part is that everyone in the media industry in Sweden really understand the value of esports. They don't understand the esport completely yet, but they understand the value of esports.
So we also see in Lithuania that TV3 Play also adds esports, it translates
Yes.
Dreamhack. And so basically you change the culture from geek culture
Yes.
to that
To a champion culture.
Yeah, to the champion culture, right?
Yes. Yeah, but it's actually about that, and it takes time. That's why I don't see progress doesn't need to be fast. It has to take time. In Sweden, it took 3-4 years for us to get all the 5 media companies to be interested, and then you get the mainstream. Because if you're on all these channels and all these different, this website, this TV channel, and all that, then people from outside esports is starting. Okay, it's esports over there, it's esports over there. Maybe I should, start watching. Maybe I start, have to get involved. And now we want to, export that to the rest of Europe. And starting in Baltic countries now, Dream League that we're producing is broadcasted on TV3 Play in each Baltic country. And we want to do that in the rest of the countries as well and find partners, let's say the best partner in Poland or the best partner in France. We want to work with them and make the same journey we did in Sweden with them in those countries. Because I know it's going to work. I know that all the media outlets, as soon as the old or let's say the old people in these media corporations are replaced by new young gamers, that it's all going to change.
How do you see the future of esports? How long do you think it will take for esports to grow to the size of football, basketball or hockey, to be in the same level of that?
I would say, and this is the interesting part, I think we should never directly compare it with traditional sports, because we're going to have an advantage on traditional sports, because the cool thing with esports right now is that it's global. All the young kids growing up today, it doesn't matter which country, watch League of Legends on English. Some countries need local language, but English is becoming the gaming language. And it's a global sport. Nobody cares about nationalities in the same way. Many of the teams have different nationalities. A good example is, let's say, Fnatic's League of Legends team. It's one guy from, I don't remember, but Denmark, one from Sweden, one from Germany, and so on. It's also a sport that's completely, it's accessible every day, online, around the clock, around the globe. It's have a huge potential compared to traditional sports. You need an arena, you need all this, infrastructure to get there. So we can be much faster than all the traditional sports. Because look at it, football, very connected to the industrial revolution. When we started to move into cities, started to build factories and all that, we needed to do something to do in the spare time. So we started to organize sports and clubs and all that. It took 100 years before football reached Champions League level. And especially the last 20 years have been, the Champions League era where it's very commercialized, sponsors and all that. We can jump those 100 years and maybe, during 20 years reach something, maybe not the same size, but something completely different and much more explosive and a much more defined target group than these sports. So I think the potential is huge.
So do you think we will ever see professional players of esports getting paid such money like professional football players?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think at some point some of the gamers is going to earn more actually, because these gamers, image-wise, and if you think about their brand is going to have a much more interesting value than, let's say, a golf player that are very, niched into a certain target group, because gaming is so much bigger than golf. And I think potentially 5 to 10 years they're going to earn more, definitely.
Do you think we will ever see esports in Olympic Games?
That's a very good question, and it's something I've been thinking on. I'm not sure actually. I mean, a good example of modern sports I see is, for example, fighting with MMA and stuff like that, and also X Games with, snowboard and skating and stuff like that. I mean, snowboard is in the Olympic Games. Skate is not. I'm kind of correct, yeah. So, and I think the question should be this actually: do we need to be in the Olympics? Do gamers care about the Olympics? And then you get a different answer. Then suddenly you're thinking Olympics will need esports. Otherwise, they long term will not survive. So I think it's interesting to reverse or take the question and ask it in another way.
So you think that Olympic Games will need esports in the upcoming?
Definitely. If you look at all the traditional sports, and I think it's the same in Lithuania as in Sweden, they have problems right now, except football and a few sports. In all the small sports, Olympic sports, they have problems getting the young people to actually come and play, and they're sitting at home in front of the computers. So of course they will need esports. I mean, otherwise it will, it will be two guys doing, what is it in the Winter Olympics, curling and these small sports that are just a couple of hundred people in each country. So yeah, definitely in the future, 10 to 20 years, the Olympics will beg to have esports in the Olympics.
So what country is best in esports,
Korea,
according to you?
I mean, Korea is number one. They are 10 years ahead of us. I think Europe, Eastern Europe and Western Europe is really far ahead. I mean, Germany, France, UK, not UK, but Russia, Sweden, all the Nordic countries. USA, I think South America is getting bigger and bigger. It's going to be a very interesting market and esport community the upcoming years. But Europe, Korea, China, but Korea is number one.
What sort of game will be the next hit like League of Legends?
I think an FPS game. If you look at the sales chart, I can only watch in Sweden, but I think it's pretty much the same the whole, everywhere globally. FPS games is around 30% of the total sales of genres. If you divide the game sales into genres, and RTS, for example, RTS is a very small piece. It's like 2 to 3%. And that's the area where StarCraft, that's now been a very successful esport game, is in. In FPS, we only have CSGO right now. I think we need probably 2 or 3 new FPS games that are challenging CSGO to be the number one esport game. And it has to be free to play, it has to have certain spectator abilities, there have to be all these features in it. I mean, FPS games is something you're born with a little bit, especially in Sweden. Maybe I'm wrong for other countries, but playing some kind of FPS game is kind of, normal. I mean, if you're 28 years old as me and haven't played an FPS game, you have done something wrong throughout the first 28 years of your life.
But we've seen, I think 2 weeks ago, MLG hosting a Call of Duty World Championship with a $1 million prize pool. So don't you think that Call of Duty is stepping up to the Counter-Strike level?
Yeah, on the console, I think definitely it's doing that. I think though, long term and vitality, or let's say the longevity and let's say the lifespan of a game, you need to have a game that's not working on a 1 year project. I mean, we're gonna have a new Call of Duty in November, I guess. I'm not sure it's announced, but it's usually coming a new Call of Duty every November, so I'm just saying that it's a little bit like FIFA. FIFA is a quite popular esport game, but the esport community around it is not really, progressing, because the champion of 1 year is totally, useless the year after. What's the point of being champion then?
So, and also we've seen a huge Counter-Strike growth in the last months, I could say. In the half year, we've seen 3 or 4 times bigger Counter-Strike community. Why do you think that happened?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
In the last half year, we've seen a Counter-Strike community growing from, I think, 50,000 people to 100,000 and more.
Yes.
People playing games.
It's kind of interesting because here where Dreamhack comes in as well. Look at the graph. It's like stable around 20 to 30k concurrent, and then Dreamhack Winter happens and it's like jumping up to 120k, and then it's stabilized around 100k, and then now with Katowice it's jumping up again and it's like stabilizing on a new level. It's like a perfect example how esport can impact game sales, how esport can make people more interested in the game and also buy the game. I think Valve did something smart. During both Katowice and Dreamhack, they had like discount price on the game, they promoted it in-game, they had all these features needed to, get that push. So definitely esports can, achieve great things with a game. And I mean, look at Counter-Strike Go, Global Offensive. When was it released? It was released 2012. Yeah, Global Offensive, I think 2012. I don't remember exactly, but it was really, slow from the start, very negative feedback online. But the developers probably told themselves that, okay, we're gonna patch this game, we're gonna make it good. We don't care about the feedback, we still believe on this. They worked for years. And then they do this push, and now it's #1. I think they have more concurrent players than, I guess, Battlefield and Call of Duty that are selling more copies than Counter-Strike. So it's very interesting development.
So this happened because they didn't change the game, they developed their product.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they didn't release a new Counter-Strike, they patched it, they listened, they improved, stuff like that. I mean, if you look at Counter-Strike now, I'm not sure, but it's coming patches like every second week or something like that. Small patches. Could be, we changed this, we changed that weapon, we changed that. And then the gamers feels, okay, my game is alive. I can play this more because now this is happening.
So I will stop torturing you now. The last question. What could you say for all those people watching us that want to become a part of esports?
I think I'm speaking here to Lithuania, I guess, primarily. I would say start, get engaged, start to, find friends, find people, to either, start up a team in any game, in your favorite game, get organized, try to, make that team a name, try to start participate in ESL's tournaments, in Dreamhack's tournaments, in all these different leagues. Try to become something, try to, be proud of your playing and how good you are. If you're not good at games but like esports, try to organize yourself in news sites, try to start events, try to gather people, try to make this something bigger. And I mean, the best thing is to start in local level. I mean, Lithuania should have a Dreamhack or a Katowice. Lithuania should have dedicated esports sites only writing about esports. It should have its own newspaper, its own TV channel. I mean, there's no limit how big Lithuania can be in esports, and I know in every country there's it's a huge gaming community. I mean, it's gamers out there. I definitely believe so.